So, Edward, please, over to you. Yeah, on mute.
Yes, sorry, I was speaking. I was on mute. Thank you, Michael. So like Michael said, my name is Edward Yeboah. I'm a product designer. I've been in this industry for close to 7 years now. I started off as a graphic designer, like most of us did, where I had my fair share of working with some companies here in Ghana. I've done some work with gaming companies. I've done some work with small tech startups, e-commerce companies, and the like. So I have some experience when it comes to freelancing and getting clients. So I'm happy that I'm here. I'm honored to be here to be speaking to you guys. So let's make this interactive. I hope at the end of the session, you guys have loads of questions so that if I have anything to give, I can just share it. So that's basically a short bio about me.
Okay. So, just like Edward said, he's been in the industry for a while, and I've had the privilege of working with him for, I think we worked together for about a year or so, right? And he's also like one of the first people in the design space that I actually reached out to when I got started. So I'm very happy that we have Edward here today for him to talk to us about freelancing. Right, so Edward, if you could tell us a little bit about freelancing in general, like your idea of freelancing and what you think of it.
Right. So basically, freelancing is someone who is self-employed. They are not committed, or they're not committed to a particular organization or a particular employer. They come in when when there's there's a work to be done or there's a contract. They take the contract, they finish the contract, everything is clear, they get paid, they move on to the next employer. Basically, that's what a freelancer does. The freelancing landscape here in Ghana is not that easy. It's not that easy. There are some rights that you have to go through, and I'm sure in the course of the conversation we are going to unfold some of them. And freelancing is not for everyone. It's something I have to put across. Freelancing is not for everyone. If you feel like your 9 to 5 is going to work for you, go for it. If you also feel like freelancing is for you, go for it. But my 2 cents about that is freelancing is not for everyone. You really have to know yourself and then what you are good at to make that decision. Knowing yourself is really, really important when it comes to this. So I'm sure in the course of the conversation, like I said, there are going to be questions that will come up, and I'm going to answer them or give my 2 cents when it comes to those.
Okay. So just like you said, right? You think freelancing isn't for everyone. So I'd like to know what actually made you try freelancing in the first place. What were some of the things that you had to consider that made you go like, okay, I think freelancing may be a good choice for me at this moment?
Right. So I would like to put this across. Currently, I'm not freelancing. Currently, I have a full-time job. So when I started off, in the design in the design space, or let me say during my freelancing time, what made me start that was my hunger for, or let me say, the passion I have, how I had for the job, right? So most of us, we start freelancing way back in school. When we're in school, clients reach out to us, hey, I need a logo. It starts with logos, hey, I need a core card, I need that. And then you get paid. So that's, the passion and then the reward that comes with the work that you do kind of actually fuels you to do more of that. So for me, it was first of all the passion and then also the reward that came with it, because as you did more work, you realize that more like it keeps coming, more work keeps following, and then the reward gets bigger. So yeah, like I said, it's the passion and then also the rewards that accompanies the passion or the work that you do.
Okay, that's great. And you also mentioned that before, when you started a career, you were a freelancer. but then now you work for a company. Can you tell us about the switch and how it's been like working as a freelancer and working for a company?
Right. So one thing, and then let me see, one honest thing will be, security. Um, the first one being job security, and then the second one also being like some kind of financial security. Personally, I want to build my career to a certain level, and then if I'm going to be a full-time freelancer or a full-time contractor, I do that, right? So the difference with the freelancing is not always assured. Security is not always assured. There are times where you can go like a whole month, 2 months dry, no client work, no client work to do, no job. Even if there's money, the money is not going to be compared as you having a full-time job and then you getting paid for the job that you do full-time or your 9 to 5. So yeah, it's mainly job security, financial security. That will inform your decision as to what path you choose, whether you want to go freelancing or whether you want to go full-time. And then also one thing will be like freedom. What I mean by freedom is how you can manage your time. For a freelancer, you don't have to report to anyone. You don't have to wake up early in the morning, go catch a bus or drive to work, and then report to anyone. With a freelancer, you report to yourself. You're your own boss. You can do whatever you want with the time that you have. But with the full-time job, you have a boss. You have who you report to. So that's also some of the pros and cons that you have to consider when or if you have to make the switch from freelancing to full-time or from full-time to freelancing.
Okay. So let's say if I want to start as a freelancer and then I've read my options, I've considered the difference between my work as a freelancer and my work as or me working for a company, and then I decide to take that step into freelancing. What are some of the things I can do to start with that will help me find clients?
Right. So finding clients is not really an easy job as a freelancer, because the space, like I mentioned, is quite important to choke, because there are a lot of competition when it comes to freelancing. So the number one thing is to put yourself out there. Because if you're not out there, clients are not going to find you. So you have to put yourself out there. You have to be active on social media. You have to be active in communities. You have to be active in networking events and stuff like that. So you have to also be good at what you do. It's really, really important. If you know that you want to do product design as a freelancer, you have to be good at product design. If you want to do brand identity or identity design, you really, really have to be good at it. And then also you have to build your portfolio and put your portfolio out there, so that the more people see or the more prospective clients see your work, anytime there is something, there is a gig or there is a job that needs to be done, they are going to reach out to you, and then they are going to reach out to you, and then you can help them with the job that they have. So yeah, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be really, really active on socials. You have to work on your portfolio. You have to be good at what you do, and then also you have to form strong networks and then strong relationships with friends and basically anyone. So anytime you go to events, you have to be active. You have to talk to people. Let them know what you do. Let me tell you a story. So when I began, I had my internship at Meltwater School of Entrepreneurship. Those of you that know that it's MEST, it's East Legon. It's a school for tech startups, right? So when you go there, there's a lot of startups there. So from school, I had the opportunity to do my internship in one of the companies there. So what I did was I printed cards, right, for myself as a freelancer. I printed cards. So anyone I speak to, I just give them, hey, this I do this, and I develop an elevator pitch. So an elevator pitch is like a 2 minutes or a 1 minute statement of who you are, or like it's a 1 minute statement of you selling the kind of value that you have for your client. So anytime I meet someone, we have a brief conversation. Hey, Charlie, I also do design. Oh, what do you do? Then I just give them my card. So it went on and on and on. Anytime they needed someone, they remember, oh, Charlie, I spoke to this guy. Let me call him, and they just call me. So networking is really, really important.
So if I'm starting, right, and then I'm doing everything that you said, right, how how would that help me get the clients, right? Because does it mean that maybe, let's say, if I'm putting myself out there, I'm posting my work on social media, I'm being active in all these communities, does it necessarily mean that someone is going to reach out to me that, oh, they have this work for me? Or maybe I'll also have to put in some form of work in terms of reaching out to people?
Yes. So it's not like a one, should I say, one-stop solution. It's not like one and done for. Once you put out your work or you're active, they're trying to come to you. You also have to put in the effort, to reach out to prospective clients. If you have to, so there were times where you or let me say, there are times where even if, let's say, you are a brand identity designer, right? There are times where you actually have to design a prospective client's like identity, propose it to them, write a whole proposal, right? Propose it to them. Hey, I've done this on your brand. What do you think? Are you ready for a conversation? Right? They can look at it, and then when they see that you've really done a good job, they can have a conversation with you. It doesn't always go right. There are times where they look at it, they'll not reach out to you, and then, but trust me, it really works. That strategy really works. So for my product designers, let's say you've seen a client or a company that you would like to work for, right? You visited their landing page and then you saw some design, let me say, fixes that you think you can help them with. You shouldn't hesitate to sit down, design that, or let me say, come up with that solution, design it, write a proposal on your, let me say, write a case study, propose it to them. They can look at it and they'll be like, wow, I like this. Let me talk to this guy, and then they can have a conversation with you. Even if they don't have a conversation with you right then, trust me, down the line, they're going to remember you and then they're going to reach out to you. Mm-hmm. So yes, you have to put in the work after you are active and all that. Yeah.
Okay. Then let's say, so if I'm able to do everything that you said, right, I put myself out there, and then someone reaches out to me, how do I have that conversation with them to actually know how best I can help them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So you have to first understand your clients and then understand the problem that they are trying to solve. It's really, really important. You have to ask them a lot of questions, understand their business, and then get to know the kind of value that you bring on board to help their business. Right. So if a client reaches out to you that, hey, I've seen your work, I really like your work, I want you to help me with this, you ask them what exactly they really need help with, and then if you send a document. Come again?
No, please continue.
Right. So if they have to send a document with their problem statements, they are going to do that. If it's an let me say one-on-one meeting where you guys meet and have a conversation about the problem, you guys meet and then you talk about the problem, then you come up with your solution. So for product designers, usually it's more of a functional specification or a specification document where they will list all the the features or the specs of whatever product that they want to grow. They show you the product, they show you the document, you go through it, you ask all the questions that you want to ask, and then you can begin. But most importantly, you have to understand the problem and then get to know how or which approach you think best fits or best solves that problem.
Before we continue, right, I'd just like to please, if you have a question, you can feel free to drop it in the chat, or you can also raise your hand at any time during the session to ask a question if you have any. Okay. Thank you. So let's say, so if I'm able to have that conversation with the client, and then I understand their problem and how I can help them, right, I'm thinking the next thing would be for me to see how I can charge their work in one way or the other, right? Because obviously the service isn't going to be free. So then, do you have any tips on how to maybe charge your work, for instance?
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, pricing is a whole other discipline. So pricing, when it comes to pricing your work, I price based on value. There are different models when it comes to pricing, right? So, for example, price based on time. So maybe you charge. Uh, I'm just giving an hypothetical value, maybe 50 cedis for an hour. That's your rate, right? So you have to come to that agreement with your client that, hey, I charge 50 cedis per hour. If the client is comfortable with it, you guys can go ahead. But what I've found to be comfortable with is I charge based on value. Now, the reason I don't charge based on time or time rates is it kind of punishes you when you are good, because you tend to finish your work early, and then it's like, oh, so maybe a work you can spend let me see, a day on. No, for instance, if you have a work that maybe you can spend like 3 minutes on. No, how do I even put this on? So basically, what I'm trying to say is, anytime you are good or you are fast, that pricing model affects you. Because you tend to finish that work quickly. But I like to charge based on value. So I look at the client, I weigh the client, I weigh their business, and then I also weigh the value that I'm bringing to them. That's if client A, client B comes, maybe they can come in with the same problem, right? But the value that the solution I'm giving to client A is going to be different from the value that I'm bringing to client B. It may be the same work, it may be the same solution, maybe it's an app design, but client A doesn't really have, in terms of value, they're not really rated the same. So let's say if Coca-Cola comes to design a logo for them, they're not going to charge them the price as Mamine Papa Ebony Kate comes to design a logo for them. So you have to know the value it has to the client, and then the value you are bringing to that client, and then you can charge. So like I said, there are the time model or the rate model, and then there's also the value model. I prefer to go with the value model. So if anyone has any questions, you can ask me based when it comes to pricing.
Okay. So I think for that's actually something that I learned from you. I don't know if you remember, but then a couple of years back when we were having that conversation about pricing, right? And then I told you that, like, how do I go about pricing my work? And then you showed me how you basically go about it. And then from there, it actually helped me even, I guess, price my work a bit higher than I was doing. Because once I was able to learn that, okay, if the work I'm doing has this value to this person, then it means I can actually even make more money from it. So that's one of the things I actually learned from you, which has been very, very helpful since then.
I'm glad. And yeah, so to my product designers on this call as well, I've noticed some people also charge based on screens, which to me is kind of weird. So for instance, they tell you how much you charge per screen. I think it's a very weird pricing model. Because so if let's say you charge, because you have to look at it, you have to look at the product in a holistic lens, from a holistic lens, right? If you charge based on screen, so what if the person wants maybe a landing page, one strip landing page? It's a one page. So are you going to charge that amount for that landing page, the same amount they are going to charge for a mobile screen? I don't know how that pricing works, but maybe it's something I have to look into, but it's kind of funny to me.
So then, if I'm able to price the work right, the client comes to me, I understand their problem, and then based on the problem, I think this is how much I'm going to charge for it. So if I send them a proposal with that particular amount, I think usually two things happen, at least in my experience. It's either they will agree with the amount, or they'll say, I think, let's say even three things happen. So either they agree with the amount dead and there, no negotiation, or they negotiate, and then we try to find a common ground, or they say maybe the price is too high for them, and then they go. Right. So I think, let's say if in some cases, right, let's say the price is too high for them and then they can't afford the services, what do you do in that case?
Pricing is always open for negotiations, right? It's always open to negotiation. So if they tell you, oh, I think this is way beyond our budget, it's really up to you to go back to your negotiation table, negotiate something that fits within their budget, right? If they want to go with a really, really low ball offer, you have to look at yourself. If it's something that you can't work with, then you just can't work with it. But one thing that I've learned is sometimes even if clients can't meet your budget, they can help you in other ways, right? So you can have a conversation with them that, hey, if you're not going to reach this budget, I'm going to basically take what you're offering, but know that the work that I'm going to do belongs to me. Now, you can put it on your portfolio, because there are clients that you can work with, but the work belongs to them. Because you're going to sign an NDA, you're not allowed to post that work on social media. You're not allowed to post that work on in your portfolio. I mean, there are a lot of projects that I work on that I can't post because of NDA. Because once they see it out there, they're going to sue you. So, if in that case, you can have a conversation with them. If you're not going to meet my budget, I'm going to hurry. Another approach is also to ask them to recommend you to some of their friends, which in most cases happens, because once you work for a client and you do a good job, trust me, they have conversation with businesses, right? So they're going, hey, who did this do? And then they can actually hit you up when they need something similar to what you've already done.
Okay. So so let's say if me and we are able to we are able to agree on the pricing, and then I get the work done. Okay. Another challenge that I've noticed in the space is even how to hand off work to a client, or how to agree on the facts that the work that you agreed on has been done. Right. So the project can come to an end. But I know that sometimes when the project is coming to an end, that's when you really get all the scope creeping coming in, where clients ask for several revisions here and there, and so on. So how are you able to just navigate that whole space and then bring the project to an end?
Right. So anytime you get a project as a freelancer, you have to break the project down into phases, right? So phase one, you guys agree. Phase one, you're going to do this, and that. You're going to charge this for phase one, and then you move to phase two. Phase two, you're going to do this, and that, and then you charge based on that. So you charge based on what is someone put in there?
Okay.
Should I answer that, or I should go and then come back
later? When you're done, you can answer.
Right. So like I was saying, you have to scope your work in phases, right? So once you're done with this phase, you charge. Once you're done with that phase, you charge. Or you can also reverse it. You charge and then you work on the phase. You charge and then you work on the next phase. You charge and then you work on the next phase. So that at any point in time when clients want to date you, at least you've been paid for some work that you've done. Right. I've been in cases where I've worked on a whole project and then the client just vanished. I didn't get even one CV to buy anything. I tried to reach him and then he just bounced. I don't even know whether that guy is dead. So charge, work on the phase. You guys will agree. Then you move to the next phase and then you charge, right? I was going to say something. It escaped me. I had something on my mind, but it escaped. But yeah, basically just break it down into phases, and then you charge based on phases. And then also, yes, that's it. I've remembered it. When it comes to revisions, you have to agree in your contract the number of revisions that are allowed per phase, right? So anytime it exceeds the number of revisions that you guys have agreed on, it has to be a clause in there that states how much the client is going to charge. Sorry, how much the client is going to pay for that revision to be done.
Okay. Then since someone's asked a question, can you answer before we continue?
Can you give examples of how freelance designers can work together or partner up to get more clients? Oh, right. So, someone, if I get you right, how like freelancers can come together, work to get clients, right? Right. So, I think I've had this conversation with someone on this call before. The person is a brand designer. So let's say I'm a product designer, right? Somewhere else, maybe your freelancer friend could be a brand designer, right? You guys can then say, let's rebrand this company, or let's rebrand this business. The brand designer will handle the identity design, and then you, the product designer or the web developer or the web designer, you're going to handle maybe their website or the design of their website, right? You guys can collaborate, come up with a beautiful identity and then a beautiful online presence, and then propose it to the client. I think, like I mentioned earlier, that's one method that I've used in the past that has really worked. So actually doing the work and presenting it to the prospective client. They actually like that. Like it really does magic, you know. It gives them the impression that, wow, this guy has really thought about us. This guy actually understands our problem and has taken time from their busy schedule to actually do this work and then presented it to us, right? The downside to that is if they don't reach out to you, you've wasted a lot of time. They can even steal the idea and then give that project to someone else to work on. That's the downside of that thing, that process. But it really works. And I hope someone have answered your question.
I think Emmanuel has also asked a question. Emmanuel has also asked a question.
So he said, from your talk earlier, you said you are not a freelancer again because you are working with the company now. Doesn't mean when you come from a client you wouldn't do. Oh, right. So because right now I'm really busy. If a work comes in, I can toss it to some of my friends on this call, and then they can handle it. Yeah.
Sam has another question.
So right, someone said, how can a freelance designer? I think I would like it if you guys unmute and then ask the questions so that this will be more conversational and then interactive.
Okay, so Sam, can you kindly unmute and ask the question?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So essentially, what I'm trying to find out is for a freelance who is working on existing projects, working on projects for existing clients, how do you find that balance of working on those projects and then finding new clients in that pipeline so you don't run out of basically things to work on, or the cash flow doesn't get cut? Because initially you mentioned that a freelancer could go for a couple of months without any projects or cash flow. So how do you address that?
Yeah, so it really comes down to time management and then prioritization, right? So you have to should I say if there are things that you have to do, for instance, illustrations, right? And then you can actually buy those illustrations, and then you don't have to make those illustrations yourself. Just buy it, right? It all comes down to how you manage your time and how you can be fast to turn around and then handle other projects. And then let's be honest with us. So sometimes the works or the project become too much on us that it really wears us down. So at a point in time, you have to actually tell clients that, hey, like currently your project is going to have to hold on for maybe 2 weeks or maybe hold on for a week, right? You work on the existing project and then you can go work on the client project. But if it's really time bound, that's where maybe collaboration comes in. You can link up with a friend. Hey Charlie, I have this job that I have to knock out within this week, but I'm really tight. Can we do it? You guys can come together, knock it off, and then move. But you really have to manage your time, prioritize, and then designers, you don't like buying assets, right? But assets, both free and then paid, really makes our works fast. If you have to invest in icons, do so. If you have to invest in illustrations, do so. So that anytime you need those assets, you don't have to create them from scratch. You just go there and then get it. Another thing is also templates. There are thousands of templates online, right? So if you have a project that you don't need to actually start from scratch, just grab a template, tweak it. I'm not saying steal it like dito, like tweak it. So for instance, maybe an Android project or an iOS project, they're already template for the iOS patterns, the iOS guidelines and stuff. Take those things, make them suit the project, and then work with it. Because if you want to go back to designing the bottom navigation height, and it's going to waste a lot of time. Meanwhile, there are a lot of assets that are free that you can just use to move so that your pipeline can be fast.
Thank you. I think I agree a lot with what you said, especially with some of the existing stuff or resources online. It saves a lot of time. I know a few of my fellow junkies are here, my people, Jeffrey and Michael. They will address the fact that I always tell them if there's a way to make their lives easier, if they're working on something much easier way to do it, they should just do it. Because I believe you're already a good designer, you have nothing to prove. You don't need to create an icon from scratch if there's already an open source version out there. You can just use it if there's an illustration that you need. You don't necessarily need to prove anything to anybody that you can do it. Everybody knows you're a good designer. So if there's a free version that won't cost you any legal troubles, you can just go ahead and use it. But I agree with that point a lot. I have another question, but I'll let the other people who have their hand up go.
Sure.
Okay, so I think there's one question in the chat by Asante. So I don't know if you can answer that. Then after you answer that, then Isaac can ask his question and Jeffrey will ask his question. Then we continue. Okay, so Asante is asking how you deal with creative block as a freelancer.
I play video games. I love video games a lot. So anytime I have block, I just put in Ghost of Tsushima or Days Gone. I shoot a lot of zombies. I also work out. I go to the gym. I run. I just take my mind off design, right? Because there are times where you can really be weighed down. I mean, let's not deceive ourselves. You can really be weighed down. You have to take your mind off design. If you have to watch YouTube videos, do so. If you have to watch a movie, do so. If you have to play a video game. But what works for me is video games, movies, going to the gym. That's what really works for me. But as creatives, you're not always motivated. But you have to stay disciplined to always show up. The motivation is not always going to be there. There are sometimes you do certain works and you ask yourself, did I actually do this? Yes, it's you, but you're just tired. Or you're not. The creative juices are not really flowing because maybe you're stressed. So take some time off work, rejuvenate. If you have to travel, rejuvenate, and then come back to the drawing board. It really works for me.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people on the call can relate to what you're saying, especially about traveling and playing video games, just to help you get your mind off the work and then you come back. I think that's very nice. Very nice. So Isaac, kindly ask your question.
Thank you very much. And in regards to creative blocks, from my personal experiences, it's very tough when it's and then like getting to a deadline and then you just don't feel motivated to complete the project. Um, Anyways, but my question has to do with managing client expectations, right? So take a scenario, freelancer is done with the project, you show what you've done to the client, and then there's this statement that some clients give that, oh, I really like this, but I've seen your portfolio, so I know you can do better. In that situation, how do you respond? How do you like manage that situation? Because they are sort of praising you, but then condemning the work that you've done. So like at that point, so like how do you go about that situation?
So it all goes down to the revisions, right? But when you're working as a freelancer, most of the time to avoid these kind of comments or these kind of scenarios, you have to always involve your clients in the process, right? So if let's say you are a product designer, you have to involve your clients when you are wireframing. But trust me, most clients don't give a fuck about wireframes. You show them the wireframes, they look at it, they don't get it. They are waiting for color. They are waiting to see the colors, right? So, but let them know the idea, right? Tell them, hey, this is the idea that I have. It's going to look like this and this, and it's going to work like that. But when it turns out you actually show them the work and they don't like it, ask them why they don't like it. Maybe they will tell you, oh, the color is not working, this is not working, the placement of the text is not working, this and that not working. Ask them questions so that they can actually reveal why they don't like it. And once they even show you a work that they think works, I think it's a good point. Maybe they'll tell you, oh, I don't like this, but I like that. So you can use that as an inspiration to guide you or to direct the creative process. But if it goes on and on and on and on, I think you have to charge for revisions. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hey, Sam, do you want to chip in or do you have a question?
I actually have a question, but I think I'd like to chip in on what Edward said on what he just said. So, I mean, it's true. It's sometimes getting the buy-in from the clients I'm challenging, and I'm going to speak from like working in the house because that's where a lot of my experience comes from. It's definitely true because sometimes when you are given a project, a task, and then you go and hide somewhere, do the work, and then at the end of the project or at the end of the sprint, to come and show it, you get a lot of pushbacks, if I'm to put it that way. Because even if the work is good and all that, you typically get a lot of feedback because the stakeholders might feel like you weren't a part of the process. So, like, what are you presenting? And there's a lot of politics that happen in the real world, like when you're working in real world scenarios. So, that's something you should keep in mind. So, it's typically, at least for me, and I think that's what they touched on. What works is right from the get, we just involve the people you are working with, the stakeholders. And it's also good to have like a good idea of which stakeholder would be the most difficult to work with and try and get their buy-in. Because once you are able to get them on your side, it's much easier for them to put the others with you. So yeah, just involve them in the process. Don't wait till the end. There's a saying for handing off to engineers as well. Don't wait till the end and do a one handoff and share with the engineers. Like work with them and make sure they understand what you are doing. Everything is in sync. Like the communication is in sync. So you don't really, at the end of the day, you don't really have to do like a full proper handover or anything like proper presentation because they already understand what you are doing. And so it's much faster for them to implement what you are doing or the stakeholder to give the buy-in. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add. But I had a question. So Edward, in your earlier submission, you mentioned something. You mentioned an elevator pitch, which I found very interesting. Was it something that it's usually here when you're working like with founders, like in the startup realm? But then again, it makes sense because freelance is like more like a one-man startup because all those news you see online, like one person is the founder, the graphic designer, the web designer, the marketer, and everything. So it kind of makes sense. But it also makes sense listening to your story of you doing internship at MES, which is like essentially an entrepreneurship school. It makes sense how you might have come across that term. But I wish you could expand more on it, maybe how people can create it and there may be some tips and tricks on how to go about it. So the people here can be able to utilize it in their daily pitches, because it's something that I think would be very helpful.
Right. So I think there's this strategy for coming up with elevator pitches. So like I mentioned earlier, an elevator pitch is basically a sentence or a phrase that tells a prospective customer, a prospective client who you are, the value that you present, and then the value that it has for them. Right. So I think I have it in one of my documents, like the strategy that you can actually coin it. So it gives you dashes that you put in the dashes, and then you can actually put in the words that fit in that fits to your brand, or that fits to your brand, and then you can come up with an elevator pitch. So it has to be short, it has to be concise, it has to go straight to the point. Hey, this I do that for these kinds of clients. Maybe I'll drop it on Twitter. I'll do a thread on that, the strategy, so that on how creatives can actually coin it. I have it in one of my books. So please, Michael, if you can remind me, so that after the call I just put a thread on Twitter or something and tag you guys, if that helps.
Sure, I'll remind you after the call, just so when you share, I can also share it in the group.
All right. Or maybe we can even do like a carousel, like the tips that UX gonna post, so we can have it as a carousel, and then we can just share it on the socials.
I think that would be great as well. So maybe we can even do that one instead. Yeah. So Bernard has a question, and he's asking if there are any platforms that you recommend for marketing yourself as a freelancer.
Oh yes. So for the platforms, there are quite a number of them. There is Fiverr, there is Upwork, there's Freelancer. There are tons of other online platforms that you can register as a freelancer and basically get clients, right? But personally, those have not really worked for me. Maybe to work for you. I know people who have really gotten, like, they are really successful on Upwork, right? So yes, there's Upwork, there's Fiverr, Freelancer. There's quite some others. You can Google them, but don't underestimate the power of the regular social media, the Facebooks, the Twitter, the Instagram. Don't underestimate them, because I've really had clients from Twitter, from India, like Brazil. Sometimes you can there's content. All right. So don't underestimate the power of these regular social media. They are really strong, because the masses are there, and you don't really know who might come across your profile, who might come across a work that you've posted. There's quite a number, like you guys gonna put in the chat. So there's Fiverr, there's Upwork, Freelancer, etc. So you can create an account, and you can post your profile, post your works, and then clients will come there. If they like your profile, if they like your work, they can reach out to you, and then you guys can work.
Okay. I think there's one question of mine that I'd like to ask, and that one has to do with doing free work as a freelancer.
Mm-hmm.
So would you advise a freelancer to do free work for a client?
Oh yes. So it's not always about the money. Sometimes the relationship. I have this client that I did, like he always kept coming with gigs, right? I actually got my highest paid gig from him, and he keeps bringing more gigs. So he came up one day that there's this pitch that he really wants to win, but it's not a guarantee that he could win, but he just wants to send an idea, right? It was a really huge project. Right? It was a huge project, and he told me that this is not a paid project. Do you want to take it? I was like, why not? So I took it. I worked on it for like 3 weeks and submitted it. We didn't get a project, but I mean, it's gone. If we had won that project, hooray! It would have come in with a lot of reward, a lot of more projects. So sometimes it's about a relationship that you have with your clients, and then how you want that relationship to be built or to carry on into the future. It's not always about present gratification. Sometimes clients will tell you, oh, I really like your work, but right now we are low on budget, or we don't have the budget for this right now. Can you help us? If you have the time and you have the passion to do it, trust me, do it. They are going to remember it one day. How much was that?
Boys like numbers.
Right. So it was huge. It was huge. It was a good money. That was somewhere 2020, late 2019-ish.
Okay, I see that Emmanuel was on the sound. Emma, please, if you can unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Please, I think my question links with what you just said. What is the best advice or the best answer to give to a client that says, oh, a friend gave me your number and he says you are very good, but I want you to work on this project for me. That is you working before, after he will pay you for it. And clients sometimes comes in a way that after the work, they tell you they don't like it and you're not being paid. So what will be the answer for such a client?
Can you repeat the question, please?
You see, there are clients that comes in a way that they'll tell you, I have a project for you, but you will have to work for before I will pay you for that. Mm-hmm. And there have been some clients that after doing the work, you don't get paid. And in this business, there has been some explanation that you have to take some percentage before you work on a project for a client. So what would be the advice or the response you give to a client that will tell you work before payment?
Yes, so you have to stand your ground. So branding is really, really important as a creative and a freelancer. You have to make them understand that it is your policy. It is your brand policy to take payments before you start, right? And then also, like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, always break the project down in phases, right? So you finish one phase, you take the charge. You finish another phase, you take the charge. So let's say you are going to design a logo, right? You can say that after I sketch this logo, I'm going to charge you this for the sketch, and then from the sketch to the actual design, you're also going to charge this for the actual design, unless the work is free. Maybe it's a proof of concept. If it's free, then that's a whole different story. But if it's not free and the client insists that you deliver the work before they pay you, that's a risk you have to take. If you trust them, fine. If you don't trust them, fine. Because the client that I mentioned that I did the work for, he came to they'll go to a time where he comes with projects and we don't even discuss pay, right? I work on the project 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, then he'll be like, hey, you can be the cow, and then we talk about pay, because that relationship, like we've developed that relationship that money it's below. I don't know how to explain it. Money is not really the priority, so it really goes down to the individual and the kind of relationship that you have with the client, or the relationship that you want to have with the client in future. If you think this client has a potential to be big or has a potential to give you gigs in future and they want something for free, take the risk, do it, right? But if the clients come in, maybe those clients of doom, they come in with an attitude, they try to be bossy where you, man, I for once, I'll do it. I'll take that risk. I mean, there are certain clients that right from the get-go, you can tell that this client is going to be a pain in the ass. I mean, those are clients you can tell, Charlie. So just.
All right, thank you very much.
All right.
Then I see Kingsley. So Kingsley, please unmute and ask your question. Then when you're done, Samuel can ask his question too.
Okay, thanks so much, Eddie. What I would want to find out is that when you are trying to have a conversation with the client and you're trying to do the pricing and all these things, is it supposed to necessarily happen within a day, or is it supposed to probably happen maybe between a period of time? Because that is when some of these issues of this communication between the client and then you comes in, where you've not actually been able to cement on what you are offering and what they're equally also getting. So is there something that you've realized about clients in terms of time lapse when you are deciding as to when to present your budget, when to present what you are trying to offer to the client?
Right. So sometimes a client will come to you and they want to get an estimate of the project right there and then right during the first meet, right? And there's something I learned from Chris Doe: never to give a flat rate when you're having that first conversation. Don't because trust me, during the first meet, anything that the client comes with, the actual work is more than that. Trust me on that. So anytime a client comes to you and they want a rate right there and then, don't give them a flat rate. Give them an estimate, a range, so you can tell them, oh, I think for this kind of project, I can charge between maybe 20K to 40K, 20K to 50K. You've given them a blanket rate, right? So you go back, you look at the actual work, you decipher it, and then you come back to them, say, based on this and that, I'm going to charge you this because I'm going to give you that. So if it's a product design job, for instance, anytime clients get to you, they tell you, hey, I want you to work on this for me. It's a restaurant management software. That's what they'll tell you. How much are you going to charge? Right. But a restaurant management software doesn't say anything. What goes into the restaurant management software is actually what's going to determine how much you're going to charge. What are you going to do? What are the features? Right. So when they come to you, I need a restaurant management software. How much are you going to charge? Tell them, oh, for this, I think you're not going to pay less than that. Can you please send me the specifications of the project? They send it to you. You actually sit down, read through everything, know like what the amount of work that is going to take you to deliver, and then go back to them with the actual charge based on the breakdown that I mentioned earlier, the phases that you are going to charge on. I think it works. It works fine. So never give a flat rate on the first call. Always give a blanket rate, and then go back, look at the project before you come in with the actual rate. I hope that answers your question, Kingsley.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Welcome, bro.
And then, Sam, kindly ask your question.
Yeah, mine wasn't really a question. I was just in addition to what Edward said earlier on about the free work. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I do agree with what he said, and I think it's always good to not always look at the money, especially if you're starting out, because you need all those connections and those things that will open the better doors for you in the future. So instead of seeing it as doing free work, what I usually see it as what value is this person going to give you. Right, but there's always a value exchange. There's not, if it's not going to be liquid cash, there's always a value exchange. Is this person connected to somebody who you probably want to work with, or a company that you think you would like to work with in the future? Because there's a very small world, right? So if the person doesn't have that money now, I think you should just consider your situation and see what's best for you. But you should also be strategic enough. But I think that's one of the key skills that some people tend to lack, like strategic thinking, right? So, like being able to analyze the clients coming in and understanding what value they can give you, what you can also offer them. So there's that proper exchange of value. It's not like one person is getting the value and you're not getting anything, right? Because sometimes people say they'll give exposure. You do it, you don't really get the exposure. Sometimes it's not really the client's fault. It's also like you, the freelancers, fault for not recognizing what you can do with that person you're working with, right? So being strategic and thinking of how you can exchange value, so the work you're doing doesn't go free, even if you're not getting liquid cash for it.
Yeah, thank you, Samuel. I think those are some really really good points.
All right, I totally agree with Samuel because me myself, I'm even currently in a space where I'm also trying that to see how it's going to work. Where I had a project, I proposed to the client, but then it turns out that even though they are interested in it, they can't afford it. All right, so now I'm seeing how I can do the work for them and how I can actually benefit from doing that work for them because I think they are also somewhat known in their field, at least. Right. So if I'm able to do the work for them, and then they like it, people in their field will obviously see it, and then I will be associated with that work. So if someone in that particular space wants that same work, they'll reach out to me, and then they'll probably reach out to me, and then I can probably charge them for their work instead. So yeah, sometimes I think it's just basically seeing like what you can get from that whole relationship if you decide to do the work for free. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I think I also noticed that you mentioned networking when it comes to finding clients, right? So networking and relationship building is one part of it. So I think one part or one place that's much easier for you to even network with people is on social media. So I don't know if you have any tips that you'd like to share in terms of interacting with people on the timeline or DMing people that can actually help you build a better relationship.
Right. So yeah, when it comes to social media, you have to be known for something, right? So if I mention decay motion, I mean, what comes to everyone's mind is that guy who does those wild ass motion designs on social media. So you have to be known for something on social media, right? So if you're a designer and you put out designs, you have to be known for that. You have to be kind to people. People are going to reach out to you in your inbox asking you a lot of questions. You have to be kind to them. You also have to give. You know, if you have resources, if you have certain tips, post them online. Post them. Make a thread on them. Anytime people reach out to you about tips, books, don't be stingy. You can let them know. Give them the links so that they can. So it always comes down to. I mean, you mentioned right now that I was one of the people you reached out to when you began. I even forgot about it, but today I'm mentioning it. You know, that's how small the world is. You know, you don't know where you're going to meet someone in future. You know, so anytime you can help someone, just reach out. And then outside social media, to anytime there's an one-on-one networking event like the US Ghana event that we have, go there, talk to people, have fun. You know, network them, talk to them, exchange contacts, and then just be a good person. You know, so when I began, one of the things that I did, I think I mentioned it, that I printed call cards, right? So I actually give the call cards to friends, my relatives, my family, like nuclear family. And anytime they go to work, they should share it. You know, I mean, I was that hungry, so they go to work, they share. When you say, "Oh, we design it to make a call card," then they just give you one. You know, so you'll be getting calls from people that you don't know, because you can't do the work alone, right? So it always goes down to your network and then how they're going to bring in the prospective clients.
All right, thank you very much. So our time is almost up, and then I'd like us to ask maybe 2 questions before we end the session. So I'd like to know if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask before we end the session. Kingsley, I don't know if your hand just went up or if it was for your previous question. Okay, so I guess it's for your previous question. So Edward, do you have any advice you'd like to share with anyone who wants to start out as a freelancer, or anyone who's actually pursuing freelancing right now?
Right. So advice to anyone who wants to start as a freelancer is, first of all, know yourself. know whether freelancing is for you or whether freelancing is not for you. That's the first step, right? You have to know yourself, else trust me, you're going to be in some serious situation. So once you've decided that freelancing is for you, freelancing is something that you want to do, you have to ask yourself what discipline are you going to freelance in? Now, in this case, design, right? Which part of design are you going to? Product design? Are you going to brand identity design? Once you figure out what you want to do, work hard at it. Be really, really good at it, because there's competition out there. So what is going to make you stand out from the rest is how good you are, and then how you present yourself to the world, right? So be good at what you do, brand yourself well, put yourself out there, post your work. Don't be scared to post your work. Post your work, even if it's not good. You're going to get feedback from people. You can polish it. Post your work. Build your portfolio. Build an online presence, and just keep chasing clients. And I think with perseverance, with determination, you'll be successful in the field.
I think one last one, based on what you were just saying about know where you'd want to branch into, if it's product design, brand design, so on, right? So would you advise, let's say if I want to branch into product design, right? Do you think it's much better if I say, okay, I'm doing product design, but then as a freelancer, when you bring mobile app projects, web app projects, whatever projects, if I say product design, I am doing it for you, right? Or would you suggest niching down in terms of, if let's say I'm a product designer, I want to do just mobile fintech applications or e-commerce applications?
So with this, I'm going to be a little bit biased. This is my view, right? It's not objective. This is my subjective view, right? I feel like in our part of the world, right, niching will really cause you problems, because it goes down to generalization versus specialization. Do you want to be a generalist or want to be a specialist? In our part of the world, Ghana, right, if you want to be specialized to do a particular thing, maybe design, you want to do just logos, I don't feel like you're really going to have more clients, because a lot of us, like, how do I put it? I don't know how to explain. Put out this point. So yeah, it's about whether you want to generalize or want to specialize. So I, for instance, I'm a product designer. If you bring in web projects, I'm going to do it. If you bring in mobile app projects, I'm going to do it. But say you're just going to do web, or you're just going to do mobile, must have duo, Charlie. That's the fact, bro. So it's up to you. If that's what you want to do, fine. If not, Charlie, I would advise you to be a generalist. Get to know a lot of things, and then once you get higher up the career ladder, you can specialize. But as a beginner, know a lot of things. Right now, if you bring animation, I can do it. If you bring web design, I can do it. If you bring brand design, I can do it. If you bring motion graphics, I can do it. Right? So as I climb up the career ladder, I can now say, all right, I want to do this. I want to niche, right? But as a beginner, it's always advisable, or let me say, I would advise you to always know a lot of things in design before you can specialize. Else, you go hungry. Yes, Sammy, can you please ask your question? Sorry, Mike, did that answer the question?
Yes. Yes.
Mine, sorry, this one is like, mine is not a question, it's just an addition to what you're saying. If that's okay.
Oh yeah, Charlie, shoot.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with what you're saying, especially if you're starting out, niching down to like properly niching. Like maybe you say you are doing only e-commerce apps, you struggle a lot. Because obviously our industry is not as advanced
as the other parts of the world. Even in the other parts of the world, when you're starting, you sort of need a lot of different skills to begin with, right? Because a lot of these specialist roles are senior roles, they are not junior roles. So if you're starting, you have to go through the mud, work your butt off, and then gain all those skills. Then as you advance, you can develop into what a lot of people call the T-shaped skills. So like you have a lot of different skills in different places, but then you specialize in one thing. So it could be that you have like graphic, or let me just limit it to product design. So it could be like you have a lot of experience in e-commerce, fintech, Web3, all these other industries, but you specialize in, let's say, building design systems, or you specialize in e-commerce products, right? That will help you a lot if you are looking for like mid-level senior positions, because you have the basic skills, you have basic understanding of all these industries, but most of the time, a company will have to be like an e-commerce company or a fintech company, so that's where that specialization comes in. But once you're starting, you really need all the skills you offer. That's why a lot of people even start with like coding and design. I have a trend beyond that. I feel like that's just you and yourself. It's really, so just if you want to stick to design, stick to design. But yeah, it's important to have a lot of these different, especially as a beginner, because it will help you a lot in the future. Because you don't want to get to a point where you just did only e-commerce and now like you have 5 years of experience in e-commerce, which is fine. But then you are trying to apply for a different role, let's say recruiting, messaging or something, a company that does recruiting or messaging, and you have no experience, no ideas on how that industry works and all that, that could go a long way to affect you. So it means you practically have to start from scratch again. Right? So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you very much, Samuel. So Edward, before you go, can you share your social media or where you are present online so that people can find you?
Yes. So it's Edward Yeboah _, and I think on all social media. I don't know, Facebook. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Okay, Kelvin.
That's my portfolio as well. So my social media handles are there, so you can also check it out.
Okay. I think Kelvin has a question. So Kelvin, please ask your question, and then once you're done.
Okay, Edward.
Yeah.
Thank you much for all you have said. It has been insightful so far. But here's a case where I'm an entry UX designer here. I've actually taken out 2 courses, but I'm having to transition from like into the practical aspect, like the role. I don't know how to put it. I really don't know where to start from. I don't know. It sounds easy though when you guys will say, but like, I don't know how to really like start the whole work. I've studied, but I don't know how to start. I know it's going to be simple for you guys too. I was wondering if you have something you could say that would like literally just push me.
So if I understand your question, are you saying you're an entry level designer, like you want to enter into UI UX, but you don't know where to start from? Is that a question?
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
I'm saying yes, exactly. But then here's the case, I've already taken our 2 courses on UX design. So I have a fair idea. But I haven't been, I haven't had a real life opportunity to display. And I don't know how. I know it's easy for you guys, which you have done already. You guys keep on saying having contracts from India and all that. But then I just don't know how to start.
Right. So you're saying you want like the opportunity to display in real life, right?
Yes. As though I feel a little bit like, I don't know, the inferiority complex. I don't know if you've ever been there before. You don't know if you are good enough to start, or if you are going to fail someone. I don't know if you get it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you shouldn't be scared to be a beginner, right? We are all learning. You don't ever finish learning, but you have to start with personal projects. You have to start with pet projects. Work on something. you can design screens on yourself, like on your own, come up with a concept. Design, maybe you can say you want to design an e-commerce flow, maybe an e-commerce checkout flow, right? Look up inspirations online and then try to design it yourself and then post it, right? That's how you're going to gain the experience. So that's how you're going to gain the experience and then translate the experience to working on a real actual project. So gain the experience, try your hands on personal project, mock-up projects. So mock-up screens, mock-up stuff, post them online. Definitely someone's going to reach out to you. And then like I said, put yourself out there, reach out to clients that, hey, you can help them with this. And then if they have a contract and then they think you can help them, trust me, they're going to talk to you. So you need the experience under your belt. You have to get your hands dirty. You know, if right now you don't have the real life opportunity to handle real life projects, start with pet projects. You know, anything you can come up with. I mean, I've done a number of them. You can come up with a gym app. You can come up with a school app. Come up with a concept, an idea, and then try to build an app for it, and then just start from there. So if we are going to get the experience from there.
Okay.
Go to uxghana.com. They have some resources there that are really, really helpful for entry levels. So you can also look at that as well.
Okay, and Kelvin, I think another thing too that you can do is you can ask your friends to, if they have any projects that they want to work on, right? Or you can even reach out to maybe, let's say, an Instagram shop that you see that sells maybe tech products, right? All their sales and everything is happening on Instagram. You can reach out to them and then tell them that, oh, you can build a website for them if they are interested. If they say yes, then you take it. You are just doing it for free. They're not going to pay you, right? So you let them know that, oh, you just want to do it for free for them, right? So you take the project, you work on it. If they like it, like when you're done, you share with them. If they like it, then you just give it to them to develop or something, right? That way, that also helps you with the experience, because now you know that, okay, you've done something for someone, they like it. You can ask them that, oh, if we were going to pay for this thing, how much would they want pay for it, and so on, right? Or I think this one also gives a fair idea. Okay, cool, this work that I did for this person, they're actually willing to pay XYZ amount, right? That gives you some form of confidence in maybe if you are going to reach out to the next person, right? And then like this amount, you are going to ask for money or something, right? So that's also something you can try. And Sam has his hand up. Sam, is there a question I want to add up to this?
No, I just want to add up. Okay. So it's like this is like a story that happened this week at where I work, and hopefully it can help you out.
So it's essentially basically what Edward mentioned and also what Michael mentioned. So I mean, I was there when I received an email from the CTO where I worked about this guy who was a beginner, right? And he just sent an email to the company saying he would like to work for the company, do some stuff, blah, 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 lots of things, right? He doesn't really care about the money. He just wants a place to work and then develop his skills, right? So these are things you can do. There's a leap of faith. So even though the company is not hiring, they may not have like job roles listed on their careers page, you can sort of take a leap of faith, just like Edward mentioned. So you can probably look at their website, see what you can improve, and then do that, right? But in the instance where you are probably like very, very close to absolute beginner, your skills might not be there yet. So even if you do design a thing, that first impression of the mockup might turn the people off. So you can use this approach of just being honest with the people you're sending the email to, saying this is the situation, you just want to develop your skills, you don't really care about the money at that point, you just want a volunteer role, right? And then just take a leap of faith. You have nothing to lose. That's the thing. It's just an email you're sending. It won't decrease the money you have already. It won't do anything to you. It won't reduce your life. If they respond, great. If they don't, nothing will affect you. It's much better than you not sending that email, right? So this is what happened this week. And then I reviewed the person's portfolio. I mean, obviously it wasn't there, but because this person took the chance to send out that, even though we did not have like an opening, this person is at the top of mind, right? So we might not even put out a job ad, but we might just reach out to this person directly, have a conversation with him, and just maybe give him an internship or a junior role or something. Even though he just wants like a non-paid role. I mean, I'll probably push for him to be given some compensation just to keep him up, because Charlie streets are good. So sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. You never know. You really never know. That's something that I feel like some people do not do these days. Just take that leap of faith and reach out to people, because people are willing to help. Everybody is human. Even if they don't have a job ad, just tell them your story. They might be willing to help.
Yes. So, Sami, thanks for this point. So I think what someone is saying goes down to internship, right? I forgot to add internship. So you have to take internship opportunities where you are just going there to learn. You are just going there to gain experience, right? So if you get opportunity to intern under someone or to shadow under a senior designer, learn as much as you can from them. Ask them a lot of questions. Be humble and then learn from them, because most of us had the opportunity to do or do internships with tech startups where we learned a lot of things. When I started, I didn't even know what UI UX was. I started as a graphic designer in a tech startup, right? So what they were doing was they would draw the wireframes for me, and then I'll design it in Photoshop. I didn't even know what that is like. I didn't know it was called wireframe. All I knew was I was just doing graphic design, right? So the love came from there, and I was like, oh, I actually like doing this, and I started asking more questions. Oh, right, so this and this, oh, so there's something called app design. Oh, there's something called UI design. Oh, then I started reading about it. I started learning about it, and I started gaining the experience gradually. And then, so from there, someone actually saw the UI that I did from the sketch that they drew for me, and it was like, oh, Charlie, I like this. Can you do this for me? And then when I was on vacation, I think I was in tech at the time, they actually contracted me to come and work on that project for them, and then they were paying me $500 a month. I mean, it's not big money, but that's how it started. I did a project during my internship period. Someone saw it, and then I actually got a paid job from there, and then it starts from there gradually. So just like Sami said, take the leap of faith. Go to businesses that, hey, you're an intern, you're an entry, you're a beginner, you want to learn. They are going to give you the opportunity, because everyone wants to help. And then you can learn from there, and then from there you can build your experience, and then you'll be successful. You'll be successful. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Edward, for coming on to share your experience with freelancing with us. I also want to thank everyone for joining. It's quite unfortunate that our time is up, and then we'll have to end today. But then, please, if you have any questions for Edward, you can feel free to ask him on social media or in the UX Ghana group on Telegram. Right. So please, if you just want to reach out to him, you can feel free. He has dropped a link to his portfolio in the chat, and you can find the social media handles on his portfolio as well. So once again,
and I'm also dropping my number just in case you want to talk. We can just hang out. So you can interact, you can have fun, Charlie. You can chat.
All right. So thank you very much, Edward, and thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate it. See you on the next webinar in May. Right. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you.